So I started going to New York and reading up, like buying jewelry, watches, and whatever. And I got connected with friends or family members of ours that are like family members from like far, like tú sabes, legítimo, like primo that are cousins, but we didn't even know they were cousins or whatever. So we knew that they were friends of us, but we didn't know that they were cousins. So I started like seeing them in New York, and they were hustling out there. They were hustling out there. So when I used to catch up with them, I noticed what they were doing. So remember, I used to sell in barbershop the silvers and stuff or whatever, and I was getting to know people in New York. I mean, Connecticut and New York, and I knew a lot of people that used to smoke. So I was like, I know a lot of people that smoke. I have a lot of friends that smoke. Like they will buy from me. I'm their friend. They're gonna let me get money, whatever. So I'm like, let me buy from my cousin or this friend of mine, and start selling. So I didn't know nothing about sales really. I started talking to my cousin like, how much is this and how much is that, and they explaining it to you just like a regular business. They'll tell you if you're gonna do this, you need to buy this scale and this costs this much and this is how it is, and they explain everything just like a regular course because they actually people that know you want to buy to sell, they will educate you because they know that if you have potential, they're gonna make more money because they need sellers to continue to make money. So he was cool with it. He gave me all the information I needed. Um, so I bought like an ounce or something small like that. And I went to Connecticut, was selling my jewelry, but let people know I was also doing that, the people that I know smoke. And it kind of left my hands like drastically quick. It was like crazy quick. Like I didn't even have to like talk about selling. You know, when you sell jewelry, you gotta convince people. Like, look at this watch, it's nice. Look at this chain, blah
Mm.
blah blah. They're like, yo, Carlos, I already bought a watch. I already bought. Like they wasn't buying 10 watches, but the weed people smoke and then they want to smoke again. You don't need to say, oh, look at this. Nah, they just go. They need it. They
No.
call you. You know what I mean? So it
Mm-hmm.
was like easy peasy. It was like, all right. I saw one time they liked it. It was a wrap. It was a wrap. You just started selling it crazy. So let's say I can't tell you the time frame, but I know that let's say an ounce I sold it like in like a week. To me, that was like super fast. So I'm like, I'm not gonna go to New York every week. Let me buy 2 ounces. So I'll buy 2 ounces. I remember I had a job, so I didn't use the capital money of the drugs to basically like eat. I used the capital money of the drugs to just buy more drugs because I already had a job that was paying the bills. So for me, the drug money was to grow on the business that I looked at like a business. So I started buying 2 ounces. Those 2 ounces so quick. I started buying 4 ounces, and next thing you know, I was buying pounds quick,
Wow.
right? And I was like, damn, this is crazy. Because then I started focusing on people that wanted to sell. I sold to customers that smoke, but then I started looking for people that wanted to sell because I didn't want to be in the corners or people seeing me too much moving around. I wanted to sell like to people that were selling, so that way I'll go from New York to Connecticut and just give it all out. Now remember, I didn't have anybody like
You were
people start with
driving
like
to,
friends.
you
I
were
was
driving
driving,
to,
yeah.
you weren't scared? Like when you were
I
picking
was
up,
young.
you weren't afraid?
If I tell you, I was so young, and like again, I was watching a lot of mafia movies. Like I was watching movies that back in the days, maybe those movies they'll do stupid things, and maybe back then they didn't have cops like they do now or whatever. So it was like you look at a movie and you're like, all right, that's easy, I could do that. So I
Mm.
wouldn't overthink it. I had a car that didn't look like a car that was like a kid driving it. I always used to like driving like cars to New York that looked like it was a mom driving a car. Like I would drive like a
That's
van or
crazy. Your
yeah,
mindset. You're saying
I
you were
wouldn't drive.
young, but like you weren't that like because you keep saying, "Oh, I was young," but like the fact that you keep saying you were young, but you had a mindset that's a little like ahead of your
Yeah. There
time,
was
you
some
know?
certain thing. It was like you felt smart because you thought it. But I'm saying the whole process was done because I'll drive like a van, but I wouldn't even hide the drugs, like not even in the trunk. I'll put it in
Um,
like the passenger seat. I'll put it in the passenger seat because I feel so secure. Like I was like, okay, I'll put it in the passenger seat and I'll drive. Like a car will stop me in the drug right there. Like I wouldn't even. There was no hiding
wow.
the drug. And you
Yeah.
know that weed, like you could smell it no matter how much you bag it up. And back then, the weed that you was buying, at least I was buying, was like the weed that joint was stink up the whole
It's like
house. Like there wasn't
potent.
no,
It
yeah,
was
it was like
potent,
Kush,
yeah.
and it was like they used to call it blueberry, and it was like all these real stinky drugs. Like they was air still tight, whatever. It didn't even matter. That joint still stink.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't think about it. Even if you put it in the trunk, that joint was gonna stink. There was no way like that joint wasn't gonna stink. So I wouldn't think about it. I'll just go and I'll drive 60 miles per hour. I wouldn't go faster. The car, I'll always put it on like that drive that it
Auto,
drive by itself. Like
autopilot. Yeah, it's like an autopilot. It drives
yeah, on
itself
cruise
and you
control.
can
Yeah,
just like cruise control. Yep.
exactly. I wouldn't even like 60 and then I'll just leave it. Boop. So that cop will just leave you. Boom. I always had everything in that aspect kind of good. But I started growing with that. But then again, remember, when you in that drug game, it's like you start becoming like you want more money faster. But then you realize that the weed is like you have to buy so much to make like a lot of money. And it stinks. So you're thinking of other ways to make more money on other things. So then I had the same friend that I had that was giving me the weed also had ecstasy, and then he also knew somebody that sold the coke. So I started going back and forth, but I started learning the business of that as well because the coke was more complicated for me because you had to weigh it and it was so little, like to bag it and all this and that. And I was like, I'm not selling that to customers because I remember one time and remember about the seeds that I was talking to you, that people plant, but you're still doing wrong, but you don't want to see it. When I used to sell coke in the beginning, I used to sell it to customers, people that used to use it. Now there was this one kid one time that I remember that he was in the car and he wanted me to pass him the stuff, right? But I didn't give it to him as fast because I had a friend of mine. We were like talking, we were like acting like it was all cool, but this guy was desperate for me to pass him the stuff because he wanted to use. He's a fiend, right? And I saw that his hands were shaking, like that he needed a drug, like he needed it. And that kind of made me feel bad. I was like, damn, this guy's like going crazy. Like he look at his hands like shaking. I don't want to see that. And I remember that when I saw that, I told myself, I said, I'm not going to sell to these people. I'm going to sell to people that sell to these people. I'm going to sell to people that actually sell the drugs. But again,
Mm.
remember, in my mind, I want to do good. I don't want to see bad. I want to make money, but I didn't want to see what I was doing. I didn't want to see people hurting. I didn't want to see people feeding. I didn't want to see that. I just
So
wanted to
you
see
weren't
the part that I was
selling.
making.
So you didn't want to sell it to the actual dope fiends or the ones that
Nah,
actually were the ones that are like you were selling it to people that would be able to here's your pack and go sell it to whoever dope fiend you want to sell it.
exactly,
So it
exactly.
was
Like
like
I didn't.
that was like a out of minds, out of sight type of thing, like or out of sight, out
Exactly.
of minds, so you weren't
Yeah.
you felt like in your heart, at least you're not doing it directly to them, right?
Exactly, because I didn't want to feel that guilt. But remember, I'm throwing everything fast because this takes time. This is not I did it one day and then tomorrow I'm doing this. This is all like I'm learning the process. So I started buying the weed, grew with that. From that, I had enough money to go into the coke. I was selling little baggies, making 20s, hundreds, whatever, little things like that. Then I started buying more of that. When I started more of that, I saw the people that were actually like feeding. That particular case, I remember vividly. It tells me like I felt like, what am I doing with this guy? Like I felt bad because I remember that guy actually brought a watch. He didn't even have money. He brought me a watch, and it was a Movado, and he brought me the receipt of the watch. Now the watch cost like $800 at that time, and I knew that he either took it from his dad or he took it from his mom because there was no way this kid had the watch. So even he's stealing for his family, like just me thinking about it, he's stealing from his family to buy the stuff. And I remember the watch, he showed me the receipt because he wanted me to see the value of the watch. And what he bought only cost $100. So he basically threw away like $700. You know what I mean? But I like again, I saw his way, and I told myself I'm not selling to this. So I made it my prerogative, like to be like, okay, I'm gonna sell to people that sell, because I'm not gonna deal with these people because it was messing with my conscience. My conscience was telling me this is what you're doing, so I didn't want to see that. I wanted to shut it. So the only way that I could shut it was not sell to them, sell to people that were thinking like me. Let's make money. Because to me, I wanted just to make the money. I didn't think I was bad. I looked at it like just any other business. I looked at it was something that you needed and I had it. It wasn't in my mind like I was doing something illegal. To me, it was like I'm making money. This is a business, you know. So
Wow.
I didn't really think much about it like that. But then from there, I started selling ecstasy, and ecstasy was something that was like new, but it was selling crazy fast, crazy fast. Now the
That's like
crazy
a
thing about
party
that,
drug, right? A party drug. So that was, yeah.
and not only that, you get it. I remember I used to get it for $1, and I used to sell it for 10. So it was like 100 times profit.
That's
And
crazy.
and a pill was mass small, so it's like how much can you carry? And if you're getting a for $1 for a pill for $1, you could get with $100 you get 100. So you'll make $1,000 like with 100 pills. So it's like this is no thinking about it, you know. So I say all this because again, I will go to New York and I will buy all this, and I'll come back to Connecticut with all of that in the car. In the car, like even the little bit of time that basically you will know later on that I got. If I would have got caught in the car with that, I probably would have been in jail to this day
Wow.
because there was so much different drugs. Like, what were you doing with all of that?
Yeah.
You young and you're carrying all these drugs and all these different type of things. Like, all I had to do was get pulled over. It wouldn't have been a wrap.
Yeah.
Tú
Yeah.
sabes?
Wow.
So the thing about the game as well, the I say the game just because uh, that's the way they call it, but it really isn't a game. It's something that you get into without noticing because I didn't really think about it. I started doing one thing, and next thing you know, I was already involved into
It
so
was like a
much.
no-brainer at that point. Like you said, you get 100 pills and you're selling it and you get $1,000. It's a no-brainer. It's like a no-lose. Like it's a win-win situation in your head. You're not thinking about the consequences. You're not thinking about getting caught. If you think about getting caught, then you're gonna get caught. Like that's the mindset that the game is. Like you can't think about all the negative. You have to think of no, you're not going to get caught. And yes, you are unstoppable. And yes, you are on top of everything and you're smarter than everyone and you know what you're doing and you're driving a minivan and you got it on autopilot. So you're thinking about all of these things, but at the end of the day, you're still young. You're still thinking I want to retire when I'm 40. When 40, I mean, I'm 4 years away from being 40. Like it's like one of those things that we think is like, oh gosh, that's so old. Like we can't be that old. And then the other thing too is you have to look at the big picture. You saw mom working 3 jobs. You didn't want that for yourself. You didn't want that for your kids. You didn't want that for Fiona. So like you have to look at it like that, where mom didn't have, her husband. She didn't have that. So you're looking at the bigger picture where you're like, I'm not going to work 3 jobs. I'm going to have everything that we didn't. We didn't grow up rich. We grew up poor. We grew up on food stamps. We grew up with one parent. We grew up having these things. So you say there is things that we look at and we're like, we don't want that. We want better for our kids, and you don't want your kids to grow up like that. So you want to be present for your kids' lives. So you start thinking, how can I make money? And if you're getting all that money so quick and so fast, it's a no-brainer. There's nothing to think about. How can I get more pills? How can I get more drugs? How can I make this go a little bit faster so I can retire in a year or two? So I mean, it makes
Yeah,
sense. I know where your
and
mindset's at.
and apart from all of that, you also get like recognition and respect, like in a way. When you make money, people treat you differently. You
Yep.
know, and remember, mom wasn't around. Mom wasn't around. Mom was in Virginia, so it wasn't like I had somebody seeing my every move or somebody like telling me like, Carlos, how you get that car so fast, or how are you
I
paying
was
the
thinking
bills?
that
And
too. I was thinking that too. Like, how was it that you were able to fly under the radar? But if mom isn't there to question, because mom wasn't like I mean, she's still pretty strict till this day. So mom was a very like, strict mom. So if she saw all of that, because remember when we got the phone call, we were shocked. I think mommy was shocked. Like, what? Like there was no way it was you. It couldn't have been you. It was just like
yeah,
one of those things, like it's shocking because mommy was like, there's no, it's not Carlos. You guys got the wrong one. Like that, nope, not him. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
exactly.
continue.
Because
Sorry.
mom was in a whole nother state, like 6 hours away. Like mom didn't really know much about what was going on. Mom knew I had a job. When you parents think you have a job, they think everything's good. Oh, he's working, he's paying his bill, his kid is good, everything's good. So they don't give it a second thought, especially when they're so far away. And of course, you have family members that are close by, but they also have their own kids and they also have their own thing going on. So they don't really have the time for you because they don't really have the time for the kids. So they could see you like once a month because you pass around or whatever. But they see you, okay, Carlo has a car, Carlo, baby, got everything. His girl looks like she's doing all right. So nobody really questions it. They're just thinking you're doing your thing, you're working, you're managing, you're doing things correctly.
Yeah, y
Right.
la otra cosa, another thing, es like, en español, like, él cuidó mucho de nunca darme regalos caros, nunca. Es decir, yo, Carlito, no, nunca llegó donde que cuando nos viéramos, algo que yo dijera, pero ¿cómo tú me puedes regalar esto? ¿Entiendes? Él cuidó mucho eso de, para mí, ni imaginarme, porque él se cuidó mucho, yo digo, se cuidó de, porque sabía que yo no era una mamá como que me dejaba convencer de cualquier cosita, me imagino, que si él me regalaba algo caro o algo, yo iba a decir, pero ¿cómo? Tú tienes un niño, tienes una mujer, pagas renta, pagas todo eso. Entonces, para mí, no, a mí que me dijera que Carlito estuviera en eso, yo iba a decir, no, no, imposible.
Yeah.
A ver.
So it was funny because let's get to the part basically. I started when I say I started getting respect and recognition. It was funny because with my friends, we were all like doing all right, not all right in money wise, but we were basically like cool with each other, and everything was like when we get together, it was cool. With my family members, cousins, and aunts and whatever, everything was cool. But I remember one time I used to sell to this guy. Well, I used to buy from this guy that lived in Connecticut that was close to our family members. And family members of mine knew him as well. And I remember one day I got scared because a family member of mine actually went there and I was hiding because I knew he arrived. And I told the guy, yo, this dude can't know I'm here. Like, what am I gonna do? And the dude was like, oh, go over here or whatever. So I'm hiding, but then I know my car is outside.
Oh
All
my God.
all my family knows my car. You know what I mean? So I'm like hiding there, but then I'm thinking, yo, he probably saw my car, so this is like meaningless, right? But they talk and I didn't hear anything. I was hiding and they talk and I didn't hear anything. And the guy left. My family member left, and the guy was like, yo, he knows. And I'm like, what do you mean he knows? Like I told him he knows. Like he saw your car, like he knows everything already. So I was like shocked that he knows, but he didn't say nothing. He just left. I guess the guy told him like, let me tell him like leave, don't worry about it, whatever. And I'm gonna talk to him, and he told me or whatever. And then I was feeling kind of weird, like this is strange that this person didn't go off on me and didn't put me in the right place because this is one of the person that was actually one of my the person that disciplined us a lot, right? So it was funny, but I left and I didn't think much about it. But I knew there was gonna be a talk. I just didn't know what kind of talk it was gonna be.
You were
Um,
getting ready, like, this is it. Like, I'm done. I'm getting out of it because
yeah,
the person that knew, you knew that they were going to come down on you hard, right? Because that's what they've always done before in the past. So you were like
yeah, well, I
almost
was,
like anticipating it. You were getting prepared, like it's
yeah, kind of.
happening.
At the same time, I was thinking of ways to tell him I wasn't gonna do it because I was gonna change the person I was buying it from. Like I was thinking something like that. I wasn't thinking of like I was just thinking I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna stop, but I'm gonna do it this way or whatever. But when we had a talk, he was just actually interested in doing what I was doing and wanting to like see how I was making it or whatever. Because that guy that talked to him told him how much I was buying and how much I was doing, and he pumped him up. He told him like, "Yo, this guy's really like moving stuff. Like this guy's really making money. Like he put him in like he let him know like I was making money. So he was like surprised and he was like, "Oh, really?" Like that kind of got him a little excited. I say about the money, and that's why he talked to me about the money part. I felt uncomfortable doing
I was
that.
gonna ask
But
you, how did that make you feel? Like,
I,
how did that reaction make you feel?
I felt uncomfortable doing it because I know, and there is like, again, my conscience is like, this is not right because now it's like I'm including somebody that I feel uncomfortable just doing this with, because it's like, this is like you're doing something with your mom that you're like, this is not right. Why am I doing this with my mom? Like, this doesn't feel right. That's like watching, like something sexual with your mom when you're like young and not supposed to. You
Yeah.
feel like, what the hell is this? Like, it's awkward. So I feel like kind of uncomfortable doing it. So I just wanted to like give him like certain people to make his moves, but I didn't want to be the one doing the business with him. I wanted to detach from it. So
But
I went
besides
ahead
it,
and
sorry, I'm sorry, but besides him making you feel uncomfortable, like his response, what did you think his response, like, what did you wish his response would have been? Not in that moment, because in that moment, you don't want him to tell you, like, in that moment, you don't want him to be like, Carlos, whatever you're doing, you need to stop it. In that moment, you didn't want that, but you should have had that, right, from him. What do you wish, like, now that you look at it, if you can turn that around, what response would you have expected from him?
yeah, like you said, like in the time I was surprised and I was like in shock that he went along and he was cool with it. But again, when time passes and and, and now you're grown like myself and I'm grown, I see my cousins, my little cousins, for example. I see my sons. I see your sons. I'll see Pati's sons. Like, I will always remain being a grown up with them. It doesn't matter, like, to me in my mind, like, even if they get to, like, be 20 years old, I'm still going to make them feel like, watch yourself around me. Like, don't do that around me. Because I think that sometimes when you grow up and you see somebody that's small, and now they're an adult, they're 17, they're 19, they're 20, and you're looking at them like they're grown. That's like the time that they actually need somebody strong around to be like, nah, don't do that. Or somebody to like really stop them from doing something stupid. So I don't know if the reason that I do this has anything to do with that, but I believe that I would have wanted him to be that person that corrected me when I was
You
wrong.
did.
I
Yes.
would have wanted him to do that just because that was one of the persons that basically always put us in our place. That was one of the person that whenever we misbehave, he was the one to take care of the business. Like it wasn't that was his job. In our
Yeah.
eyes at that age, that was his job. There was nothing else that he was involving when it came to us, like to me specifically. There was nothing else. That was it. If I misbehaved, he was the one to fix the problem. So there was a misbehavior, and this misbehavior
Yeah.
needed correction. And if
Hmm.
my mom knew about this, I believe she would have called and be like, "Yo, this guy's doing this, correct it," because that's the guy to call to correct it.
And
So
that's
I
what
believe
mom
that.
used to do when we were younger, that if we didn't, well, if I didn't eat for, he's coming, and you have to make sure that, you did your thing, because if not, she's going to call that person. And that's really how it was.
So again,
So
I expected correction at that time, but of course, I'm saying now, I'm older now, so I understand things differently now. And the reason that I say this because I don't put the blame on him at all. I don't put the blame on him at all because he's also learning. He was also in the learning progress. He was also a human being making mistakes and not knowing how to go about things. I'm 40 years old now, right? 41 actually. And I tell my kids, I have one that's 20 years old and I have one that's 13, right? And I tell them, I said, look, I'm a human being. I make mistakes, but I do my best. Now, if I fail you in any way, understand that I'm human. I might have done some mistakes along my way of being a dad, but my intentions were good. And I try to evolve and improve as I mature. So I don't put the blame on anybody with my choices. The reason that I'm saying what I'm saying now is because I want the listeners, and even when whether they're parents or whether they're kids, to understand that you do have choices that you have to make that are going to affect your life, right? But you also have to understand that nobody's to blame because everybody's growing. everybody's learning. Like even if your mom and dad are old, they still gonna do certain things that you're not gonna be happy with, or things that you're not gonna see like, oh my God, why did my mom or my dad did this? How did they do that? Well, they learning. I didn't know how to be a dad. I learned with my first child, and I actually did some reading, and I did this or that and the third. But even the books, they don't teach you everything, and you still fail because if I be tough on this on any family member or anybody that I believe could have done better, because we all could do better. That's why my thing is we all got to try to do better. We all got to show our best self. We all got to be reasonable, responsible people. So what I'm trying to get at is that sometimes the people that you believe are the ones that have to correct you, that's not really their responsibility. I was old enough to make the right choice. People did tell me what to do, what not to do, and I still made mistakes. So I can't put the blame on somebody because I was already making my own choices before that. Now I could say, "Oh, he should have done this, he should have done that." Yeah, but I should have never done it in the beginning.
In the first
So
place, yeah.
it wasn't him that told me, "Oh, you got to do this and here do that." Because I believe that one of the things that was very important for me to understand is that I have to be responsible for my choices. And I have to understand that the things that I do are going to affect me directly. Like, so I have to focus on making the right choice myself, because that's why people are focused on bullies and peer pressure and social media. Oh, they don't like me and whatever. When you focus on anything around you that you can't control, your life is a mess. But when you actually learn to be like, okay, I actually could change this. I actually could do better. Then you actually work towards that, and your life doesn't become so chaotic. I never had any intentions in my whole life of ever living in Dominican Republic. Never. I didn't even want to visit. I never visit.
Wow.
I visited one time in like 20 years, and I came and I never came back. This wasn't my intention. So the mistakes that I made placed me in a place that wasn't even a place I was considering. This wasn't my thing. My girl used to tell me, let's go to DR, let's enjoy whatever. I'm like, for what? Let's go to Miami. I've never been to Miami. I've already seen DR. Like, what's there? Like, I didn't even think about it. So the reason that I don't want to make it something like, oh, my life is pitiful because this person, that person, not. It's not that. I learned when I went to jail, what I learned was I need to learn, I need to grow, I need to improve. And I took it as a class. I actually went in there and I took it as a lesson.
What do you feel like you want to share with everybody, or if you want to just share a message and kind of tell, the young viewers, the older viewers, people that are down and out and are giving an opportunity to sell, what do you want? What's the message that you want to give the viewers and everybody?
Yeah, I don't want to talk so much about like more about that specific topic just because it's long, and it's been long enough, and I know that it's hard for people to actually stay and watch something that's been so long. So the main point of this conversation, even though it's like you said, remember, everybody has a journey, everybody has a life. There's a lot in our lives, especially when you're my age and you actually live certain things and you affect certain people and you want to be somebody to actually like wake people up in a sense of like, look, you have a lot of opportunities right now. Take advantage of it. Make sure you don't make mistakes. Really focus on the choices you're going to make today. Don't take things so lightly. Sometimes even our opinions and our own views, we want to like force it into people without even understanding the point of view or your opinion. You just want somebody to just take it because you said it and just accept it. And the reason that I say that is because when you in a world like that, like when you get involved into these type of things, you start doing something, and then just that environment alone continues you to get you more involved and more involved and more involved, and it's hard for you to stop. It's hard for you to stop because you're already involved in a world that a lot of people are not aware that is there. But even for you to get out, it's like you don't know how. Because how do you start? How do you go from making, let's say, one of my highest was like nine, nine. $1,000 a week to like making $1,000 a week. Like, how do you go about that? Like, how do you even like adjust to that? How do you now go back and say, okay, I'm gonna stop now because I'm good. I already have this certain amount of money. Like, you can't, because you're already accustomed of having this much money in your hands to like move it around. So it's hard for you to stop. But what I'm trying to say is I want people to understand that you have to be patient in life.
Yes.
Sometimes in life you have a lot of goals, you have a lot of dreams, and with social media and all this get rich schemes, it's like you get lost and you think that you're supposed to be in a certain place because you're already 20 and I'm supposed to be here already. So how do I get there? And you make all these mistakes trying to get there. And then the next thing you know, it's like you're trying to skip school, you're trying to not go to college, you want to say, I want to make this certain amount of money, but what do you know? What skills do you have? What have you actually like have to or value to share for people to actually make money with? Like, why people gonna give you money? Like, what do you know? Some people say I'll do anything, but what is anything? Oh, I'll clean tables, but you don't even know how to clean. Like, it doesn't make sense. So to me, life now, I focus a lot. Of course, I still have desires of making money. I still want to have a business and be flexible with my time. All these things have not left me. I'm not saying this is something that my life has changed and now I don't even care about money. That wouldn't be true. But I do have my priorities straight. I know that I want to be an example for my boys. I know that I want to have time with the people that I love. So I'm living my life backwards. Right now, I'm living my future dream. I'm sharing my time with those I love. The money thing could come later. See, when you're young, you want the money thing first. And once you get the money, now you have the time to spend it with those you love that you already have at home. You already have those people that you care for. You already have those people that you work for. You already have those people that you want to be happy with. And you're saying, okay, I have all of this, but let me wait to enjoy this once I get this money. So you start working, you start being busy, you start giving your kids whatever they want, money wise or material wise. But then they get old and they leave the house, and now you're old. And now it doesn't matter how much money you make, it doesn't matter what you have. How are you happy? And I
Wow.
see a lot of things like in social media, even like now we see the truth with our celebrities, people that you believe had it all. And
Hmm.
now you see how their life is a mess. But we
Hmm.
looked up to them and we like, oh, look at that mansion, look at that car, look at the house, look at the money. And then now with social media, you see that they're miserable. You see that they're depressed. You see that they're on drugs. You see that they're on medication. You see that they're going through a whole bunch of things. And then your life that's simple, they want it. And your life that
Hmm.
doesn't have so much, but we have a little trouble here and there, but it's nothing compared to them with all the money and everything they have. So I'm thinking like this now, like let's say we live to 100. It's nothing. It's nothing because at the end of the day, we are going to die tomorrow. So why not enjoy life more in the present? Why not give in so much to those you love and actually give your best self to them? Why not open up and tell them who you really are? Why not tell your sister that you love her, you care for her, or why not be that brother to actually care for her enough to be like, I wanted somebody different for one of my sisters. Why not? I'm still that guy that I love my sisters. I respect that the relationship they have. But if I see a flaw in one of their partners, I'm still gonna be that guy that's gonna be like, I don't like that. That's my
Hmm.
sister. She deserves better. She needs better. And I believe it's the same thing with my family. If they see something that they don't like in the partner that I have, they might want something change. And that's normal because you love that person and you want for them to have something better. Not to change it, but you want that person to evolve. So how do you do that? You have to be involved with that person. You have to have a relationship. You have to be able to open up with your sister so that your sister, you could meet their husband, and that your husband and you could have a talk, and that you could influence him and he could influence you, and then you grow and learn and improve and everything be great. So sometimes I just think that what I want to get across to people really is it's good to have goals, it's good to have dreams, but it's also good to live in the present and see how blessed you are. See how grateful you should be to just have your mom alive. Just how grateful you should be to have your kids eating food and having their clothing. To me, that's basically the most important thing because I want to teach my kids to provide for themselves. I don't want to teach my kids to depend on me. So what you want for your family, you want them to grow, you want them to do things correctly, you want them to live a beautiful life, and of course you want them to have the money enough so they could have flexibility. But you also want them to know their priorities. Money is a tool. It's something that we need to have, just like you need to have food. But what brings in happiness is understanding you're already blessed. You're healthy. You have your kids. You have a house to live in. We see the mystery of the world. We're already blessed. And that's why I'm learning to accept where I'm at, even though it's not the place that I wanted to be in. I'm learning to be grateful that I have the things that I have because other people don't.
Yeah.
And because it is a blessing to have people to come and visit you and care for you. And just being able to do this with you is something that we're doing together. This is
Yeah.
basically the most time that we talked in a long time.
I
And
know, I was thinking the same thing.
even though
I'm
it's
like, I
something that
feel
we're doing
closer to you.
yeah, it's something that we're doing it with like for people to learn from, but it's something that you're learning more about me and you're learning the way that my mind works in a way, even though this is something that you can't really capture everything because life is too much. It's too much to put in a little 2 3 hour video. It's not, life is way more than that. Some
Yeah.
things escape my mind just to talk about it, even though I'm speaking fluently about everything. But my mind is all over the place because there's so much that I want to share so that other people could take with them.
Yeah.
And in that sense, so they could implement in their life. Okay, he did want to earn money, but he should have had more patience. That's what I want people to understand. He did not have those people that guided him, but there were certain people in my life that were letting me know, Carlos, how you doing? What's going on? But I was keeping them at bay, or I was putting this character out that everything's good. So it was hard for them to tell whether I needed them or not. So
Yeah.
that's what happens with kids nowadays and with people in general, even grown people now. They acting like child. They don't stand for anything.
Yeah.
Before, like I said, when I watched movies, it was loyalty, respect, ethics, values. You needed to be a man to walk properly, to talk right, to be able to provide. You needed to be able to protect. You needed to learn certain things. Now you don't put that pressure on somebody to do that, and they don't actually push themselves to be anything because nothing is expected. I think that some of the things that were expected before, it's important for us to bring back in order for kids nowadays have some backbone, something to stand on. So I'll leave it at that because again, it's too much. And hopefully in the next podcast, even when we talk about the part in jail and the part here, all that connects anyway. So because it's part of basically my learning process, which I'm
Of
still in.
course. And I think honestly, like you said, like I feel like this is the longest that we've talked. But I feel like I've always known mommy talks about you super highly and she's always, says really great things about you. And even the times that we have had those little conversations, I've always been like, oh, that's my brother. But now I can honestly say, like, I'm so proud of you. Um, I think that like sharing your story, I'm gonna get emotional. Sharing your story, it means a lot. I'm sorry. It means a lot because it's nice to hear, like, even when you say, like, what we focus on now is money, 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 and we lose ourselves in trying to provide this. And this is, something that I've seen, mom do, and mom always like work, work, work. And I would wait for her in bed because I just wanted to sleep with her, or I would, wait for her so I can show her a grade that I got in, school, or little things like that. And she was trying to provide for us so much, and we didn't even need that. We just wanted her to be there and be present. So I think that is very interesting that you say you flipped it and you're living more in the present, not like how you were thinking before, like with the future. And I think as much as I say I'm like that, I'm not. I work very hard, and I work long hours, and my kids do need me more. And I say like I'm present or I'm in their lives, but I wish I can be more in their life. Um, Mom, hearing all of this, how does it make you feel, and what advice would you give to other families that, are going through something like this? What do you want to say, Mom?
Lo que yo puedo decirle a otras mamás es lo mismo que ustedes están diciendo. A veces sí, yo necesitaba trabajar, sí, yo era la que proveía la casa y todo eso, pero con el tiempo, como dice Carlitos, uno recapitula todo eso de atrás, uno dice, sí, si yo hubiera sabido que el tiempo iba a pasar tan rápido y que en un hogar donde había 4 hijos que yo amo, iba a pasar el tiempo tan rápido que se iba cada uno a hacer su vida y se iban a ir, yo hubiera trabajado menos. Yo hubiera, sí, seguido poniendo pan en la mesa y comida en la mesa, pero hubiera estado más presente. Y hubiera tal vez, ah, hubiera tenido prioridades centradas de, ok, no es solamente la comida, no es solamente, ok, si compré 2 vestidos, vamos a comprar uno solo, si compré 2 tenis, vamos a comprar un solo tenis. Y porque uno en ese afán de darle a los hijos lo que uno piensa que es lo mejor y qué es lo que necesitan, nos perdemos. Nos perdemos porque no solamente llega a ser que sí, tú trabajas para que los hijos coman, pero también hay cosas que tú haces en tu vida que no son tan necesarias para ti misma. O sea, me hubiera centrado más en ser más mamá, más estar ahí presente con mis hijos. Porque hay cosas que, imagínate, papás que están presentes a veces escapan de la mano de uno. Y imagínense cuando uno tiene que trabajar 2 trabajos y tú estás muy cansada cuando llega a la casa. Ya es lo que tú quieres descansar. Entonces, una cosa que sí le quiero dar gracias a Dios y es que eso lo diremos, tal vez hablaremos más profundo sobre eso en otro episodio, pero sobre lo mismo con mi hijo, que, que yo sí pienso que, que las oraciones que en ese momento, cuando mi hijo estaba en la cárcel, mi oración, yo siempre le pedí al Señor, era terror para mí. Cuando yo oí la palabra deportación, para mí fue algo que se me cayó. Bueno, yo no puedo comparar ese día como cuando fue un dolor tan grande como cercano, podría decir, a cuando yo perdí a mi papá. Y fue porque esa primera vez que yo oí esa palabra, yo la oí de mi hijo en el teléfono. Y él me dijo, como un niño, me dijo, mami, me van a deportar. Y yo no tuve ni palabra, yo lo único que, esa voz de mi hijo, aún todavía, yo la oigo en mi corazón. Me acuerdo dónde estaba sentada, me acuerdo de dónde tenía el teléfono. Y que yo quería darle la fuerza que hubiera, yo quería decirle, todo va a estar bien, no va a pasar nada y todo eso. Fue muy doloroso la primera vez que yo, aunque sea me vino, él me preguntó eso. Pero aparte de todo lo que tal vez hablaremos después de cómo fue todo eso, la separación con mi hijo, el tenerlo preso, todo eso. Algo que quiero, sin pasar por todo eso, que algún día vamos a hacer ese episodio, pero mi hijo, no sé si quedándose en Estados Unidos, él hubiera crecido de la manera que ha crecido espiritualmente, mentalmente, se hubiera convertido en el hombre que yo admiro y que yo estoy tan orgullosa y de que sé que para mí Dios le ha dado una oportunidad y se la dio aún, tal vez puedan pensar, no, pero no está allá. Pero es que yo no sé si quedándose allá fuera el hombre maduro y el hombre que me ha hecho sentir tan orgullosa de él, que es como mi mano derecha, es como no hay cosa que yo me mueva sin llamar. Yo tomo muy alto las opiniones de mi hijo y, y para mí ha sido ganancia. Parece mentira, pero todo Dios lo hace bien y yo no puedo cuestionar por qué todo este proceso, por qué todo esto, porque al final yo lo que veo es lo que mi hijo ha crecido, el hombre que mi hijo es hoy, cómo es de padre, cómo es de esposo, todas esas cosas que yo no sé si él no hubiera pasado por todos esos pasos, él fuera el hombre que es hoy.
Yeah.
Y no
And we
sé.
know, como dice Patty dice, oh, ahí va mami a llamar a Carlita. It's like every little thing, but Carlos, I
Let me
want to
say
say,
let me say this.
mhm,
You know, I listen to you guys, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, this guy doesn't even cry because look at his mom, look at his sister,
mhm.
and I'm grateful for the words that you guys say, the way that you express yourself about me and stuff like that, and and it's good to hear it. But those words alone are what actually help me try to do good because I don't want to fail those words that you guys are mentioning. And knowing the impact that me without thinking, I know with mom, I definitely had an impact because of course when you are a parent, it's different. But seeing it in your sister is like, in a way, it's like really like did I really like matter that much? Did I really like
You
did
did.
I really like something changed in your life because I wasn't there. Like, and I say this because I want people to understand. There's people that love you, and that you are actually like something important to them, and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
There's so many people even within our family that they don't realize how much they are loved, and they don't realize how much people pray for them. They don't realize how much people miss them when they're not around. They don't realize how much people actually question like what's going on in their mind, like what's he going through, why isn't he not coming to me, why don't I know anything about him, like what's happening. And I say this because if anybody is seeing this that believe they're insignificant, that believe that nobody cares, you best believe you have people in your family that really love you and people that really care for you, and you're not giving them the opportunity to come close to you just because you're shutting yourself down. You want to put in your mind like nobody cares, and it's not true. It's not true. You want to tell yourself that lie because you want to live a life that is meaningless, that you don't want to push yourself to. But there's a lot of people that are expecting from you a lot more than what you're expecting from yourself. And I say that because, again, the man that you guys see, this is what I want to become. And it's the same thing that I was telling you when I was talking about Fioy. The man that I told her I wanted that I am is the man I want to become. When I hear you guys say, "Oh, Carlos is this and Carlos is that," I strive for that. I strive for that. And that's the thing that helps me push myself a bit more every time. And again, it's not really about us. This is basically for your viewers to understand you are important, you are significant. If you're not talking to your mom, if you're not talking to your brother or cousin because you believe they don't care about you, when they
That's
send you
awesome.
a text or when they call you, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and realize that people want to know about you. People do want to know what's going on with you. And if you tell them that you need them, if you tell them like, look, there's something in my life that I don't know if you will accept or I don't know if you agree with, you don't know. You don't know until you talk to that person. Your family are placed in your life for a reason. And even though family is not perfect, they're perfect for you because they're the one that help you build. They're the one that you basically need in order for you to mature into the person you're going to become tomorrow. So my family is very diverse. We have a lot of different characters in our family, but everybody has their place. Everybody has their place. And again, just like everybody's family, your family is big. But there's not a name in our family that we don't have them in a special place, in a special regard. Even if they're the quiet ones in the corner, even if they're the one that they show up every 20 years, they still have that place that nobody could take. And if they realize that you have that special place, then I believe you will do better in your life, and I believe that you will actually strive to give your family that blessing of you being around and you just showing them that you actually care and want to be around.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Carlos. Honestly, it's been such a pleasure. I know it was long. I know mommy's tired. I know Carlos's brain is like, what else can I add to it? So I want to say thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to hear such an inspiring story, for making me cry. My mom and brother will be featuring a special hidden gem in Dominican Republic, and I cannot wait to hear about the coffee that she had and about Carlos's delicious food that he has. And I'm stuck here in the cold in, Connecticut while you're in the nice heat in Dominican Republic. What's the weather like over there, Mom? What is it? Like
But I'm going
70,
back
80?
tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sorry, but
Like 80 or 90.
until next time, grab a cup of coffee and spend time with the ones you love. Hey.